So time for us to go into the matters arising segment, but let's start with what the papers are reporting and start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. It says on that banner headline, Cabinet direct COCOBOD to pay farmers, and that's the story coming out of that particular extraordinary or emergency cabinet meeting that was held on Wednesday. But yesterday, the finance minister came out to address Ghanaians, and he communicated the decisions that that particular meeting came out with. It says, Cabinet has introduced sweeping reforms to guarantee a fair price to the cocoa farmer, secure the financial viability of the cocoa sector, and ensure the long-term sustainability of the cocoa industry. And because of that, I'm sure we've all heard the reduction in the price from over 3,000 to over 2,500 cedis. I mean, it will be something that we'll be discussing here on the show this morning, but get details on page 3 of the Daily Graphic. Ministry bears teeth at lawlessness in schools. Details are on page 13. And brutal Galamsey attack, forest guard battles for livelihood. Oof. Okay. So this is all about how we'll deal with Galamsey, the issue that is not going away. Yesterday, we had a discussion here, how to tackle the Galamsey menace. Details of this particular story is on page 13. Get it. And for it to, let it also stimulate your thinking that we all have a responsibility when it comes to dealing with Galamsey. Now, we expect more visa waivers this year, Ablakwa says. So those of you who are looking forward to traveling, well, some of us, this is the only place we know. We've not bothered traveling anywhere. So those of you who want to travel, this will be good news for you that we expect more waivers. So that's on the Daily Graphic. Let's do the Daily Guide newspaper. Supreme Court rejects Anas's judgment reversal. So this is a case involving Anas and a businessman over a land dispute. Anas won the first case. The businessman then petitioned the Supreme Court to reverse or review its own decision. So the court sat over it, and in a 7-0 unanimous decision, the court upheld Anas's judgment, saying that the businessman, after listening to the motion and looking at affidavit, it didn't meet the threshold for the court to review its own decision or to reverse its own decision. So Anas won that particular case there. High Court grants injunction in Wasafiase case. Interesting. Those of us from the Western region, I'm sure, will be scratching our head and will be asking why. But you can get details on page 6 of the paper. When it comes to chieftaincy, sometimes I wish you can put it at the back burner, but yeah, it's there. You can grab a copy and get details. Cocoa prices get haircuts. The story is on page 3. This is the details of how government has slashed the price of cocoa from where it was to where it is because of the reduction on the world market. But some people are also asking questions. Why couldn't government then give some sort of relief to the farmers? But again, people ask the question, and it's something we'll explore here. Do you choose convenience over the reality? What do you do? We'll discuss that here on the show, but it's on page 3 of the Daily Guide newspaper. And they give us the price per bag. It's now 2,587 Ghana cedis. That is there. Minority calls for COCOBOD bailout. And this price is a reduction of over 1,000 Ghana cedis on the previous one. We have a cocoa farmer here. We'll be listening to them, whether or not they are happy with it or not. I've heard some people say, well, we'll take it the way it is, but we'll hear from the farmers whether or not they will. Suspend VAT Act, Guta to government. Whoa, interesting. I'll get details of that story on page 7 of the paper. IGP promote 12,802 officers. That's a whopping. Get details of that in the Daily Guide. The Chronicle, Mahama reduces cocoa price to address market variations. All right. Then minority rejects new cocoa price. Okay, details. So the story is about cocoa, yeah, and the thing. But I'm sure the minority's point of view is stemming from what the NDC said when they were in opposition. You know that in opposition, the NDC said a lot of things about the cocoa industry, even to the extent that they said when they come, they would ensure that their bag gets towards 6,000 Ghana cedis. Minority are referring them to that to say that you gave those promises when you knew how the market behaved. Why are you now shifting from that and not honoring your promise? They said you talked tough in the ahead of the election 2024. Why are you now saying that, well, because the world market price has come down, we have to reduce as well? And they asked the question, didn't you know this when you were promising? But we'll analyze all of that when we sit down on the table. But it comes with a picture of Kojo Nkrumah. He and Dr. Amin Adam, the former Minister of Finance, addressed a news conference in Parliament yesterday where they raised several questions about, what's happening to the cocoa farmers. And litigation over Chiado land, and now wins big at the Supreme Court. I guess Chiado land is now, it's expensive. It's like cocaine now. So if you have some, you would protect it with all you have. Okay, let's do the news center now. Cocoa farmers lose 1,038 Ghana cedis per bag. Okay, I want to ask the cocoa farmer if that's it, but I'll wait when I sit down with him. Translating into 16,608 loss Ghana cedis per ton, So this is where the minority looks at it and say, well, you're not being fair to the farmers. Because, and I mean, there are challenges in the sector, but the minority say you cannot do this. But the government also says, if we don't do what we are doing, we would collapse the industry. So what do? Do you collapse it, or you then look at giving fair prices? But I've heard some of the minority people also say, you remember what the government then did during COVID? It says, we know how to bring back an economy, but we don't know how to bring back dead people. And so they took a drastic decision of letting people stay home and still paying them. But are these conditions same to be compared? Well, we'll leave that to the people to be discussing this morning. They would help us understand what will be happening. Do you behave like what Nana Akufo-Addo did during the COVID time, or you stick with what's happening in the market? Minority condemns big cocoa price cuts. Still, the cocoa conversation is big this morning, and we'll be listening to all the conversations, all the viewpoint on cocoa. The world market price is dropping. The government says we promised or we announced a certain price for the 2025-2026 cocoa season. But looking at what is happening, our cocoa is expensive. We cannot continue. So we need to give you, they didn't say a haircut. It's the minority that is saying it's a haircut. Because now farmers are losing over 16,000 cedis per ton of cocoa when they sell to government from starting today because of the new announcement there. A lot of questions have been asked, and I've listened to a lot of sounds from the finance minister himself, KCL Atufosin, when he was in opposition, when he was telling cocoa farmers that the MPP government is wicked and that the NDC will do better when you give the party the opportunity. And that, one sound that I listened to, and we played on Top Story yesterday, he said that when we come, we would give you, would increase the pricing for you. We'll do cocoa roads. We'll give you free fertilizer. We'll give you scholarships to your children and all of that. These were some things that they spoke about when they were campaigning. But now the reality is that the price on the world market is down. So do they face the reality, or do they go with what they promised? Of course, every smart business person will choose the reality. But the opposition is also then asking several questions because it has consequences for the government there. So it's a big conversation we're going to have this morning about cocoa matters, and I guess that you will also be there to help us to contribute to the whole discussion, because cocoa is interesting. We saw farmers, and I've seen a lot of people say that you would then allow cocoa farmers to easily sell their farms to Galamseyers, because even with the high cocoa prices, some cocoa farmers are selling their farms to Galamseyers. So if you reduce it, and the cocoa farmer knows that I'm losing 16,000, over 16,000 cedis per ton, then it's easy for me to sell my farm to the Galamsey. People say that this reduction will bring about that, you know, and so we have to be careful what we do. But as the question goes, if the farmer is selling to the Galamsey, you put that blame on government. Well, we'll leave it to our guests to, you know, analyze that. Occupy Ghana submit bills to criminalize bribery in party primaries. Interesting. 71% of Ghanaians worried about rising food prices, and IGP story is there as well. Well, so that is the conversation this morning here on this table. My guests are already seated, as you can see, for us to go into the cocoa discussion about pricing. I mean, what should government do? Government has taken a stand. Minority says, we will hold you to the promise you made to the farmers of giving them over 6,000, you know, per bag, and that's the discussion that we are going to have this morning around the table. And the big question people are also asking: didn't government know that when it comes to commodity pricing, it fluctuates, and therefore if it goes up today, it can come down tomorrow? Didn't the NDC know when they were promising what they promised during the 2024 elections? We'll leave it to our guest here. Let me welcome to the studio my guests for today. Already I have Professor Isaac Boadi. He's Dean of the Accounting and Finance Department, a faculty, not department, it's a faculty of UPSA. Prof, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I hope all is well.
Very well. Today is Friday. I hear Friday, we don't advise people.
Why don't you advise people on Fridays?
You can advise people from Monday to Thursday. You use the Friday for them to decide for themselves what they want to do.
You can't advise Honorable Jabab as to how he has to go about it.
Honorable is already in white, and I'm sure if you go into... it's like his birthday. It's February born.
Oh, today's your birthday.
Okay. You're born on February.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Nelson Kofi Jabab is a member of Parliament for Karachi East, I think. Did I get it right? Karachi East? Did I have it? Karachi East. Great. So he's the MP there. Good morning. Hope all is well?
Everything is fine.
Okay. I love the white.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we have Nana Aduana II. He's spokesperson, Ghana Association of Cocoa Farmers.
Ghana National.
Oh, Ghana National Association.
Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association.
Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association. Oh, okay. All right. That's beautiful. I see this.
And yes, okay. I'm actually Chief Executive of Hini Cocoa. I think it's important in the discussions that we are going to have to not just talk about the challenges,
okay,
but also talk about where we can go. Because, I mean, this price, again, we can get into that, but it's as old as the Gajesburg economy.
Okay.
and
so you are the CEO of...
yes.
This is what?
This is
Oura?
Ohene Cocoa. The farm is at Orem.
Oh, okay.
And our farm is actually over 100 years old.
Over 100 years?
Yes. We are some of the original indigenous and producers of cocoa in the early 1900s. We migrated from Accra. I'm actually a chairman of Accra from traditional area. So we migrated from, or not migrated, we spread out from Akrapong, Akrapim into different areas because those areas had virgin forests, etc. We actually have land and farms as far as Gosu, the area.
You are cocoa farmers. You do cocoa farming.
You know, there is a history of cocoa that we either don't know or we ignore because of either ignorance or whatever. And when you understand that trajectory, then you'd also understand some of the challenges that we're having. Like I said earlier on, our late president, I said late, our ex-president always used to refer to the Gajesburg economy, where the railway lines came from there.
hinterlands.
The hinterlands straight to the ports, carrying the goods away. And then out of that, they built Kolebu Hospital. They built Takrady Harbour.
Yeah.
And Achimota School, where I attended school. And Achimota School was specifically set up to provide civil servants or civil trained people to facilitate the Gadgetsburg economy. So until we understand some of these things very clearly, we will not relate to...
I'll pick details of your thoughts because I'm told you're a medical doctor as well.
Yes,
so
I
have a medical doctor confirm and
and I can tell you all about the health benefits of cocoa.
Okay, so we'll get into
where we should be going.
we'll get into nitty-gritties, but let me take you to Parliament, where the minority yesterday tore into the government's announcement of the new cocoa prices, criticizing government of not being fair with cocoa farmers. This is a report put together by my colleague Kweku Asante from Parliament.
Following the finance minister announcing a raft of new measures to deal with the cocoa payment crisis, the minority have been talking tough, tearing into government and the plans that it announced. The minority say the government is completely mismanaging the process and treating cocoa farmers incompetently. Listen to the minority spokesperson on food, agriculture and cocoa affairs, Dr. Isaac Yaopoku, laying out the minority's case against COCOBOD and government following the steep reduction in the price per cocoa bag.
10 million. From 3,625 to 2,587. This has never, ever happened in the history of this country. Why are we treating cocoa farmers this way? Why? Cocoa farmer has never enjoyed the full benefit of the FOB. Never, ever. Sometimes we even pay them 40%. Cocoa farmer has sacrificed for this country. And in fact, if the cocoa farmers' farm gate price is going to be reduced by almost 30%, then everybody's pay in this country should also be slashed by that margin. Is the chief executive officer of COCOBOD, his allowance and salary, is he going to be slashed by the same margin? I am sad. Today is a sad country for everybody. And I think the president should come again. Cocoa farmers deserve better. And they should not be treated like trash.
Former Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, who also spoke at this news conference, says he's surprised that the IMF is sleeping on the job and allowing COCOBOD and the government to mismanage the cocoa sector, despite a raft of agreements they had with them while they were in office to handle the issues in the cocoa sector, which is seen as the backbone of the economy.
I am even surprised that the IMF is sleeping over this. Because we developed this strategy in consultation with the IMF as a requirement, one of the requirements for implementing the IMF program. I'm really surprised that the IMF has gone to sleep on this. And this government is recklessly managing the cocoa sector, which has brought us to this unprecedented crisis in the sector. Rather than reducing the producer price for cocoa, a bailout would have been necessary, particularly at the time we are told that the economy is strong and resilient. They said they are better managers of the economy. An economy that is better managed cannot pay cocoa farmers. An economy that is better managed reduces the producer price of cocoa. We warned this government about the reckless overvaluation of our currency. We warned them several times that these dollars they are pumping and pumping into the economy, that reckless intervention. Last year alone, they intervened to the tune of 10 billion United States dollars. The trend has continued. That reckless overvaluation of our currency will affect our economy. Because those of you who understand economics know that when you overvalue your currency, it adversely affects the export competitiveness of your country.
Minority spokesperson on the economy, Kojo Ponkroma, laid out the minority's demand. First, they want Randy Abe dismissed at COCOBOD CEO, but also they are demanding that government reverts to the old prices.
This action to announce a 28% reduction in the price amounts to a haircut of about 28% on close to 1 million Ghanaian cocoa farmers. Already when you go into the cocoa growing areas, I was in my areas just a few days ago. A lot of young people are already not going into cocoa because they say the older folk who went into it, they don't see a transformation in their lives. It's left with the old, elderly, poor on the farms. When you do this, what is going to happen in subsequent years is that even those ones will not be going into the cocoa production. If they won't sell their cocoa farms to Galamsey operators, God knows what they will do. All of this has come about because of the reset that COCOBOD did. And that is why, respectfully, we ask the president to relieve the COCOBOD CEO of his responsibilities at this point in time. Number two, we are asking the government that in previous times when cocoa prices fell and the government absorbed the shock and protected the cocoa farmer, the NDC government should absorb the cost of what they have done and protect the cocoa farmer and restore at least the 3,625 that they promised. This 2,800 or so that they are promising is totally unacceptable. Already we are receiving messages from cocoa farmers who say that if this is what is going to happen, they are going to demonstrate in a number of these. And if they do, we in this caucus, we will join them on the streets to do this demonstration. We thank you for the time.
It is now left to be seen if the measures that have been announced by government will help in dealing with the issues in the cocoa sector, but also what exactly cocoa farmers will be doing about this very, very, very steep reduction in the price per cocoa bag. The minority say if cocoa farmers are to hit the streets, they will join them and support them. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
All right, welcome back to the show, and that's a report from Parliament there. But if you can see in front of me, you see a lot of product here, right? We'll talk about that in the show, on the show. We've been joined by, okay, I've already announced his name, but I need to let you know that he's already in the studio. Lawyer Pierre Dankwa, Director of Legal of UP. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
And our latest timber merchant too.
Yeah. and good morning to my esteemed colleagues. My senior Accra, good morning, special good morning to you.
Okay. Now, Prof, I would want to, okay, let me start with the farmer.
Okay.
Then I'll come to Prof. Now, you've been in farming for a long time. You tell me your farms are over 100 years old. That's not serious. What do you make of the announcement that because of where we are, the difficulties on the world market price, we need to reduce our prices a bit, take a cut of, say, over 1,000 Ghana cedis, and let's buy your produce at 2,500 something per bag?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers and listeners. Speaking as a farmer, it's unfortunate because we are even struggling with the cost of production. Because, I mean, any business, what you earn is, I mean, you have to be able to meet up with how much you. So speaking from that perspective, we were even struggling with the 3,600 per bag. And now they've reduced. I mean, one of the big challenges and the interrelationship with cocoa farming in Galamsey is the cost of labor. You know, you are juggling with getting especially the younger men and the younger women to come and help with pruning the cocoa. I mean, cocoa is a very capital intensive. Yeah. So you can't compete with what the Galamsey
pays the young people.
So there's a significant problem with the cost of. Yeah. So the price reduction is painful, you know. However, in the way that our cocoa system is set up right now, farmers have no other option but to take it. The reverse question we would like to ask is, but why are only farmers taking the hit? Because really, when you look at a certain, like one would say, the trajectory of our cocoa system currently, there's the farmer, there's the haulage system, there is the LBCs, there is COCOBOD. That's before then we put it in a jute sack and send it away for whoever to do whatever they want to do with. So why is the farmer alone taking the hit for the 50? This is almost 1,000 Ghana cedi.
1,000
Is it
cedis, 58
whatever,
cedis.
yeah, whatever. So why, first and foremost, the farmer was not paid has not been paid for 4 months, and then on top of that, you have then hit the farmer with a significant reduction of 1,000 Ghana cedis per bag. And so why isn't that, I mean, I think the first thing would have been that they reduce the margins of the staff, of course, the salaries and staff, the margins that the government makes or whatever, by the same price amount. You know, and then if for whatever reason, and especially the COCOBOD staff, they dock their salaries, they keep their salaries for 4 months, then, you know, we would then have some justification and an easy playing field. But to then hit us with something, and because farmer groups have been made poor and weakened in voice over many years, it's almost like there's a very limited collective bargaining, if I would be a unionist in that respect. There's a very limited collective bargaining. So how do we fight back? With what are the tools how do we respond? Do we just put our hands behind our backs and say, okay, as they say in South Africa where I live, yeah, boss. But again, that's why it's important to understand the historical trajectory of cocoa and how we got here. Okay. You know. So, but yeah, so it's very painful. It exposes the farmer to more risks. There's already a struggle, and it makes cocoa farming less attractive. The average age of the farmer now is 64 years. And so based on these realities, how do you attract or replace the aging farmer with younger blood that should ideally come in and rejuvenate the industry? So these are the challenges that are presented. But it's not just, so when I just say, oh, we are sad, no, but we also have to explain the dynamics of why we will be sad and why this is such a major, I mean, I could go on and then say that, but when the thing spiked to $12,000 per whatever, that's when the minority at the time who are now in government, we're now saying 6,000, whatever. But at that time, they didn't increase farmers, whatever, to 70% of that. So we are experiencing two very interesting cycles in a very short time. A high commodity price, which went to as high as $10,000 or $12,000. Now we're getting the under end of the challenge, which is a reduction in commodity price. And so both sides, the farmer is still, you know, so is it an issue of price, or is it an issue of the model that we are currently, or we've been operating for some time, which, understanding the model, I would say is completely outdated. And so in responding to what the Minister of Finance did say, okay, let's take care of the backlog. Let's find money to pay for what we've taken, which is fair. And then they did the tough double whammy of, okay, then let's reduce the price. I would say let's go further and really look at what is this industry? How do we do things differently? Why the over-focus on just punishing the farmer? Because that's what we've done over the last how many years when Nkrumah took over, and wisely at the time, again, a lot of the financing of whether it was the building of the Akosombo Dam, the Temahabo, etc. A lot of it was financed out of genuinely cocoa revenue. And then he said to the farmers, hey, you know, we're going to give you a scholarship scheme that would absorb some of because we're taking some of your revenue, but we're using it for nation building. So this is something that you can contribute to. And so that was the reason for the CMB scholarship extra, which as the son of I benefited from.
Okay, good.
I benefited from. So, but painfully so, we have lost our way in how we saw the, and I shouldn't monopolize the discussion because the others, but
no, they are enjoying the education. They will come in. As for them, they will come in. But you are the farmer here.
Yes.
So they all listen to what you're saying. They will build on it.
I think I'm a farmer, and in this instance, I don't know whether I've been sent as a messenger from somewhere to come and
You've been sent as a farmer.
Yes, yeah. But I'm just saying that historically, when you start from the 1920s, where there was agitation for price control, etc. Because at the time, our ancestors and our predecessors used to handle the sale and the whatever of the cocoa. And the main buyers at the time were Cadbury's from the UK and Roundtree. They were the main buyers locally. And then what happened was they wanted to control the price because they wanted a stable price for making chocolates wherever, or making whatever they were making in the UK and elsewhere. And so there was a hoo-ha, and the farmers then said, we won't sell. So in the 1930s, there was a boycott. And our ancestors burnt the cocoa.
Oh.
They burnt the cocoa. Rather than say they burnt it. When you go to Mangwasi, the main terminal where they used to move cocoa through to whatever, that's where the main boycott, whatever, and the burning started. Then from there, typical UK, British, whatever, colonial government, board of inquiry, commission of this, investigation, whatever. And then they came out with a finding which is called the Noel Commission finding. Okay. That finding was never accepted by our ancestors and our predecessors. Never. It was never signed. So I'm just giving you a genesis of a struggle that we've been here. Okay. But that became the genesis of the formation of Cocoa Marketing Board, CMB. So 1947, CMB had nothing to do with we as the owners, nothing. Nothing. But, and of course, if you link that also to Europe had the Second World War, so there were all kinds of needs for reconstruction, etc. So they were looking at their colonies to really build them out. Exactly. So the importance of having a low, stable price and all this. So we don't see all these things. Okay. Fast forward, like I said, Nkrumah came, independence and whatever. And again, independence and all that was because of the Second World War. Because they had outstretched their resources and they realized, no, we couldn't actually handle these things ourselves. So indirect rule. Fine, give them whatever. So Ghana became the first. Okay. Nkrumah smartly, but he didn't last long. So his vision in terms of many things was not. Then what have we done since then? We've just basically, almost like bled the thing dry. So then fast forward to 1984. Where then soon after Jerry Rawlings' revolution, the cocoa was stuck in the bush. It was stuck in the bush. At that time, we had slid to the second position. Ivory Coast had had a stable period, and they were
we're first at them.
Yeah, we were first from 1896 to 1911. Ghana's, the initial export of cocoa out of the Gold Coast was 36 kilos.
Okay.
36 kilos. Between 1896 to 1911, we increased to 20,000 metric tons. Yes, 20,000 metric tons. There's a story we tell about, again, let's go a little bit. There's a story we tell about Tetekwashi. But when you sit down, you ask yourself, so this blacksmith, who was he growing this thing? And who was he selling? Who were the other parties that he was trading with? You know, then you begin to see that the Tetekwashi myth starts to fall apart. And then when you go deeper, you realize that the Basel missionaries, they didn't come here for preaching and church. No, they came for resources. You know, so again, our whole history they came for resources. The Basel missionaries were doing research at the Ekopon station. We've got the records. I was in Basel last year, 1858. The records are there. Whatever, a number of ports came. We had to hide it away from the Africans. It's all written there. Okay, so I said, fast forward. They did the research, and they came looking for these things so that they could export to wherever, Europe, Basel, Zurich, whatever.
So is it your argument that our payment formula has still remained the colonial, post-colonial thing without change?
Exactly. That is why our ex-president kept referring to, we shall change the Gadgisberg model of the economy. But he didn't do anything like that. In fact, sadly, he went to, and I can remember the date very clearly, he went to Zurich, 28 February 2020. Significant day, because 28 February is when Ajete, and very significant day. He went there, and he went to say in the Swiss, whatever, oh, I'm sorry, I will do chocolate. But how can you guys stand in Switzerland and tell them that you do chocolate? Are you serious? Are you serious? As they say in South, are you serious? No. You know.
So why there was sabotage or what?
No. You know, what I'm just saying is that the colonial model in which we're operating, we have to take a step back and look at how can we do this thing differently to suit us.
You mentioned earlier that the average age of the farmer now is 64.
Yes, it is.
What is the future of the cocoa industry if that's the case?
That's the question we should be asking ourselves. That's the honest question we should be asking ourselves. What is the future?
But Nana?
Yes.
We were expecting that you will tell us.
Okay, I'm just saying, I like
no, we are enjoying your comments. That's
I think that the future for me is right here in front of me in terms of the approach I've taken, the diversifying from the main products and two, creating rural economies. I mean, there was a very laudable industrial policy called 1D, 1F, but the implementation thereof. But then I asked myself, but how can our primary source of our primary raw material that is valuable, that should have been the bedrock of the industry. Yes, that should have been the bedrock. So then you create all these industries in the cocoa growing areas, you create jobs, etc. And another thing that we don't talk about much or we don't see in the whole price dynamic is this whole free zones policy where we give Cargill and Tuton and Barry Callebaut, first of all, we give them cheaper beans from light crop.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And then we give them all kinds of tax incentives But they're not even employing people. They've mechanized the whole thing. So it just defeats the whole purpose. And that has become a serious competitive barrier to the growth of...
Okay. Yeah. I'll come back to you. Let me bring in Prof. He's a finance person. Prof, you listen to the farmer. Obviously not happy with what's happening. He says even this price, it means that it will be difficult to attract younger people into the sector. But could government have done anything different?
Good morning. Good morning to my colleagues and your viewers as well. Could government have done something different? That is what you are trying to find out. Well, before I answer, let me backtrack a bit and then look at what happened yesterday. I don't know whether you watched the social media platforms yesterday.
Oh, yes, yes.
Quite interesting. I saw a picture of a farmer who was sitting down, someone in a coat cutting.
Oh, is the AR representation of the Atofos and giving a haircut to a farmer.
It was interesting. It was interesting. I was here last week and I made 3 different options for this administration. And if you recall, I mentioned about 3 things. That the government had 3 bad options that must be taken. The first one is that they borrow more. And once you borrow more, you worsen your debt situation. And once you delay payment to farmers, you are likely to have unrest from the farmers. Demonstrations as well. And if you also want to cut producer prices, you have political backlash. And that is what the minority yesterday and the social media platforms, you saw the reactions from farmers, reactions from people, and all of us. So 3 options left. The guy finally chose one. And I saw other videos on social media making references to the old, when they were in opposition, and comments they made. And now that they are in government, the situation. So I saw a lot of posts, but I was curious when I heard the announcement that the cabinet had met, or we're going to meet, to take a decision. I was waiting to hear feedback, because when you have issues in the country and elders take a decision to go into caucus, to their rooms, take a decision, you expect them to come up with a solution to the problem. So I was waiting to hear the press conference. But I was told that Atu was the one to, Doc was the one to speak. I would have loved a different person, or the sector, the person in charge should have done that. But, well, he holds the purse and he had to speak. It's fine. Sometimes when you have emergencies and you want to take decisions, you have to be careful. You don't even get there to take emergency decisions. Because sometimes, if you're not careful, what you put out there, you're going to have challenges after, because you're just done. But we had time to take decision on this cocoa issue when it started weeks ago, and we're here last week. So maybe they could have had a different way of handling this whole issue. I sat down and listened to the video, the press conference. And I summarized the press conference into about 2 parts. I was initially hoping that the intro, if not apology, but a soft tone, at least, to let farmers know that, yes, we understand your plight. There have been some major issues, so, well, we apologize. If you had made some comment earlier on, it's not the best situation we find ourselves. Then you could continue. So I listened to the conversation. And the middle part, I saw, or I noticed, the difficulty or the struggle of this administration in paying or financing cocoa payments. That's the first thing. In his statement, I also deduced artificial cedi appreciation hurting cocoa revenue. In the same video, or the press conference, I also noticed Distortions in the world market prices also affecting the cocoa. And the last one was the fact that the farmers are the ultimate victims here. 4 different categories of statement made. Then he jumps into reforms.
Yeah, but before we move on, you said artificial exchange rate. He wouldn't say it artificial. Well, why do you say it artificial anyway?
Oh, he made he made reference to what is happening to the exchange rate.
Yes,
of course.
But
when there's a reduction,
you qualify it as artificial.
Well, you can take time to listen to the video, the conference, and you can understand. He made reference to exchange rate.
Okay.
And for that matter, maybe I may be too strong with my word artificial, but there were he made reference to exchange rate. Of course, when you're having 15% and 15 exchange rate,
15 cedi per cedi.
And now it drops.
A dollar.
Yeah, and now it drops to 10 plus. You should understand what will happen to your revenue. Your revenue. So that's revenue. Clear. I was waiting to hear reforms or the overhauling of the cocoa sector. Kojo, you understand that reforms only, overhauling of cocoa sector is necessary, but reforms only will not make farmers sometimes better off. Farmers will only benefit when it's affecting their real income, when it's affecting price stability, when it's affecting the exchange rate, their daily lives. That is where we can say that, well, we have reforms having influence on our cocoa farmers. He alluded to the fact that farmers have struggled over the years. In their old age, what do they have to show? So he mentioned about 4 reforms under this administration, what they're going to do. Of course, when there are issues, you can cry and have issues, but the point is that you need to have a solution to the problem. The first solution that was mentioned was a pricing, and let me say all this, pricing and legislative changes. Pricing and legislative changes. That's the first reform that we are going to have. Under that, we are looking at new producer price, which have been mentioned. Now, the 2 regimes we had, 2 different segments. Some have been procured already, which the government must pay. Yeah. Now they have amount that there will be a price that will be given. They will resort to the old price. If those that have not been given, that's why they are going to have, I think, the 2,000 something. That's 41,000 per ton or so. And then they mention automatic price adjustment. That what it means is that farmers' payment automatically will follow when there are changes on the price. They mention also immediate arrears or payments. And that's where the minority had issues. Let's look at all this. The 3 things I mentioned, the pricing. The impression was created when you order, make payments. Then you begin to think, did they have funds available and they delayed? Make arrears payments. Okay, that's fine. But the problem I have is that for that particular pricing and legislative one is the fact that, when you're monitoring the price adjustment, sometimes it's complex. You need to do the daily marking to price. You have to do this constantly over time. Do we have that capacity to do that?
All right.
The other one I mentioned, and I think I'll be on financial restructuring. Mm-hmm. They mentioned financial restructuring.
Yeah.
They mentioned something on domestic processing and value addition. For me, I was happy for the first time that the government would say, I want to add value. Then the same emergency meeting, they failed to give timelines when they are going to implement this, at what period, at what time.
All right.
And the other thing is a bond. He said they were going to convert debt conversion.
Yeah, there's going to be COCO bonds.
COCO bonds.
Yeah, they're going to float to COCO bonds.
But you see, it is good. But sometimes when you do this, it doesn't help reduce inefficiencies in the system. You want to do COCO bond. When the sector is not attractive and you float it there, nobody will buy.
So I was going to put that question to Honorable Jabab.
Nobody will buy.
If you are floating COCO bonds at the current state of COCOBOD, how sure are you that you will be able to derive that needed ramp up of cash to buy Ghana's cocoa? Or is there a strategy that we are yet to be told? Honorable Jabab. Good morning.
And once again, thanks to you.
I'm sure you have cocoa in your area, right?
I have cocoa in my area.
Right.
But I hope I address what the government should have done differently. Because you
Oh, no problem. I can still come to you.
Okay.
Let me get to Honorable Jabab.
I have cocoa in Karachi East,
in
my constituency.
Okay.
Greetings from Karachi East, and to you and your cherished viewers. And I've listened to the previous, cherished colleagues who spoke about the issue of this cocoa. In fact, this issue of cocoa has dominated all our social media handles. I mean, over the week and even up to today, I think it's one of the topical issues that we are looking at. And I'm happy Nana gave some historical background of cocoa prices. But you look at the current situation, the problems happening in the cocoa sector, of which the President Mahama-led government had to call this emergency cabinet meeting, which we discussing about. In the first place, I need to commend the government for that attention, because when there is a father or an elderly, in the house, situations like this is what one will expect that you will do to seek the concerns or to see how to remedy the situation. So I need to commend the government for taking that decision. I mean, waving back a little bit into this cocoa crisis, my research or my understanding has it back, current one, from 2022, 2023, and even 2024, when cocoa sector began to suffer this kind of pricing problems. Their loans had to be restructured. It was very difficult for COCOBOD, for cocoa sector, to even pay some of the projected tons of cocoa of, like, say, 800,000 metric tons in a year in 2022, 2023, reduced drastically to about 400,000. All because COCOBOD was not, the cocoa sector was not meeting the desired production tonnage that they expected. Now, an interesting event unfolds, because Ghana cannot, as it is now, continue to, sit in that position, thinking that we are the only producer of cocoa. There's competition, worldwide competition, which Nana alluded to that. Where prices of those countries that are also now coming up seriously in cocoa producing is sometimes lower compared to prices of that of the cocoa farmer in Ghana or the cocoa industry in Ghana. The issue then demands a pragmatic approach. If there is this worldwide competition, what then are we to do to put ourselves in better standing to be able to come out as one of farmers that are ready to also wade into the competition. But you look at the discussion, the reform, even though Prof Boadi seemed to have disagreement with some of the reforms, industrialization is the surest way, is the best way to go. If you continue to think of our cocoa only in the raw state, it will not solve our problem. Because with the competition, value addition is what will make you attractive. Value addition is what will make you stand the competition. And this is what the government is bringing on table with the cocoa farmer. Now, another problem some people have is that timelines were not given. It's one thing identifying the problem now, and it's another thing sitting down and looking at the timeline.
But are we now identifying this problem? Right in front of us, we have
right in front of
we have Eddie Camphor White. This is what is a wine produced from cocoa.
Yes,
by a Ghanaian in Ghana.
I'm coming.
We've known this problem all this while.
Yes, we appreciate the effort of this producer, what he has done. Kudos to him. In fact, this is what we are looking for. We are talking about diversity in our cocoa production, in whatever we produce, value addition, and this is one of the, evidence. This is one of the things we're looking for. So the problem is not new, but as and when it has resurfaced, making it current, making it look like it is a current problem, making it look as if it's now happening, then we need current measures to deal with it. So industrialization, as I say, yes, government is committed to industrialization, but government has announced that the surest way to go is value addition, which government definitely is going to come out with timelines, some of the measures that will be done or will be introduced in the cocoa sector to make value addition realize.
But last year, we didn't hear these issues with COCOBOD, right? Mm-hmm. There weren't these issues.
There were issues, but sometimes...
We didn't hear these issues of you not being able to pay for the farmers, right? Why do you still go back and blame previous administrations for what is facing us this year?
The word blame is what I don't accept.
Okay.
And somebody make a historical trajectory to cocoa production from 1876 all the way to 1811.
Yeah.
It came to the Gettysburg era of 1925-31, thereabout.
Yeah.
So I also made my historical trajectory to only 2022. So if you say I blame it, then I don't agree with you.
Honorable.
I don't agree with you. I didn't blame anyone.
Honor today is
Now he has explained. Yeah. He chose his period as well.
Exactly, I chose my period. So I never blame anyone.
Dirty.
I said dirty.
You spoke. Let me.
You keep it. I'll come to you. Everybody will have a second bite. Let me come to Apia Dankwa.
In fact, I must really thank Nana here for the education he gave to our cocoa. After listening to him, I'm more than convinced that the biggest problem cocoa has had is the very negative Machiavellian politics we do in this country. Because prior to when government took over, when I say government took over, right now, cocoa farmers themselves cannot export their cocoa. No matter how powerful you are, by all means, you need to sell your cocoa to government.
Yeah.
Now, prior to that intervention by government, cocoa farmers were the rich people in this country. I'm an Ashanti boy, I'm a Kumasi boy. When you go to Bantama, you go to Asafo, you go to Ashtown, the huge mansions there where cocoa were owned by cocoa farmers. Today, we are talking about cocoa farmers being so poor that the average age of cocoa farmers is 64
years.
My father himself was a cocoa farmer. Okay. Before he was 30 years, he was already general secretary of the what's called United Ghana, what's called Farmers Council. You understand? And he was general secretary of Farmers Council even when he was not even 30 years. Because in time past, cocoa farming was so attractive to the young people of this country. Why? Because it was your surest way of legitimately creating wealth. Now, we know one, as in cocoa farmers, because of the wealth they created, because mind you, this country's economy is the cocoa economy. And because it's the cocoa economy, you see in how COCOBOD, as in, because COCOBOD is an dimension of finance. My brother was talking about it, but it's because cocoa itself is, for a very long time, was the economy of Ghana. It was finance that was practically what's called handling it. You understand? Now, government always have an issue with people becoming wealthy when they're able to create wealth without the government itself or the politician, not say government, the politician itself having a hand in it. You see, the policy we do here is all about how to get power and sustain ourselves in power. So that if there's any way, there's any sector within Ghana that can create wealth, their first inclination is not to think about how this wealthy man can impact the country. Their first inclination is, hey, this guy may use his wealth to change regimes.
Okay.
Because this policy about government only buying cocoa and then government giving cocoa pricing, which was significantly lower than what they get market price, was because during increments time he felt that the farmers were backing the other than NLM. And so let me cut the farmers and I'll have control over the NLM. And that thinking since that time is what has killed cocoa, which potentially could have transformed Ghana. That's the problem. You see, we should say it as it is.
I agree with you.
No, but that's the problem. And it's not just with cocoa. You go to a timber industry and the timber merchants are facing the same problem. Because for whatever reason, our politics here is very Machiavellian. You see, we ought to understand politics. You can see politics in the eyes of Aristotle. And Aristotle says that the end of politics ought to create virtuous men. That should be the end of politics. So what it means is that anything you do about politics, if you say you're a politician, because politics, what is politics? But essentially is how a decision as to how you dissipate your resources. That's politics. We know that when you define economy, we know the role government plays in the economy is in the fiscal policy and monetary policy. What's fiscal policy? How do I raise money? How do I spend? You understand? So if really you are doing politics and your focus of politics is to create virtuous men, then how you use the power of fiscal policy will be used in such a way that the end will be to create virtuous men. And so if you are creating virtuous men, then why do you put in place policies whose focus is to impoverish everybody, so it will perpetuate you in control? That's the politics we do here. And unless we change our politics, unless we do politics in the proper means, unless we do politics whose purpose is to create virtuous men, to create strong men, to create rich men, wealthy men, for the good of all of us, then we'll be because you see,
because government has the power to do that, right?
And that's what I'm saying.
Government has the power to create.
It has. You understand? Now, I know your problem is, so they're saying all these reforms. The question is, how committed are they? Because we've seen so many of these reforms. How committed are you to these reforms? How committed are you? Is there a case of, okay, people are in opposition in the wings. They failed radically when they had the chance. And yet, they want to, when they see cocoa, the cocoa problem, their focus is not in how can we solve this problem so we create virtuous men. Their issue is how do we capitalize on this to bring ourselves back to power? And you see the inconsistencies in their arguments there. Then those also in power, also, okay, this is a problem. How do we use PR to solve this problem? And so you asked a very good question. For the past 1 year, did we not have the cocoa in what's called problems? What was government's position? With these reforms, is it now that these reforms are coming up? So did they not know that they have to make these reforms? Because you see the reforms, one, they are talking about using bonds to substitute. So did they not know? Meanwhile, in our great transformational plan, all these ideas were there. In our GTP, all these ideas were there. And we handed over the GTP to our brothers in the NDC when they came to power. It's not that they are knowing that or they're appreciating that they need to tackle that issue. They are talking about pricing, that they are going to right now guarantee 70% of the world price to the cocoa farmers. When did they know that they had to do that? When at the end of the day, government has deliberately impoverished the cocoa farmers to what end? Because when my brother was speaking, when my senior Accra was speaking, this same cocoa was used to build what's called a Accra port. This same cocoa money was used to build a Temaport, Achimota School, Kolebu. It was the same cocoa. And all these things happened within a space of less than a generation. Now, it tells you the potential of cocoa. Now, these cocoa farmers, when they make money, you see, and you see, every businessman who has wealth, his first concentration is how can I expand my business so that I'll make more money? What does that mean? That you have to employ more people. Yes. That you have to what's called perfect your systems. That you have to invest in technology. That you have to invest in research and development. That's the only way you can expand. You understand? And because you are maximizing money there will be enough motivation for you to grow, and that's how nations grow. No nation has grown on the back of government, this nonsense government control we call politics in this country. So unless Ghanaians force our politicians to do politics in the right way, politics whose focus is in creating virtuous men, then we are just wasting our time.
But isn't
we are just wasting our time.
Isn't it a good step when they say would issue cocoa bonds? You would be interested in going to buy cocoa bonds.
You see, my issue, what I'm saying, that my issue is not in the reforms. My issue is how committed, because we were here during the last regime, when governments, when we were doing do something, government spent money to create what we call the energy sector recovery program. And in that program, they identified the problem and proposed the solutions and said in that program that by 2023, if they go through with what they were saying, we won't have energy, our energy sector will be financially viable. So why are we still in debt? It boils down to the same issue, commitment. So it's not about, Accra also said, I agree with him 100%, that the ex-president kept on saying, Gajisbergen economy, there's a need for us to transform from the Gajisbergen economy. And he's not the only person who has said that. We've heard the Gajisbergen, because I was also in a Timothy school, I was in Jibega House. So anytime they talk about Gajisbergen economy, I think about Gajisberg.
You were trained to service
there. And they keep on saying Gajisbergen economy. And when they get the power, then they start thinking about chop economy. You see, the Gajisbergen economy immediately becomes chop economy. So the issue is not about how important or the potential of these reforms. For me, that's not the issue. We all know about these, about the need for these reforms. In fact, he didn't even add what's called a deregulation of the sector. That's also very critical. It must be deregulated. The cocoa farmers should be free to also go out there, make their own deals, and then sell to what's called exporter, because rather this regime kills competition. So you don't have a choice. You need to sell to government. That's how they're able to manipulate them. They didn't even add deregulation. Now what I'm saying is that I do not have an issue with the reforms. My issue has to do with commitment. Do I believe, do I trust that having come out with these reforms, they have the commitment, they do politics. They do the politics that will make them carry out with these reforms. And the answer to that is no. Well, I'm telling you that in this issue, for the opposition, their issue is how do we capitalize on this cocoa? Because my brother here last week, I was here with him, we were all here, and said they have one or two choices. And one of what he proposed was that they should reduce the price. He said that, not so.
That's an option they can take.
Yeah, because, and then today he said that what? So should they go and borrow more and, you understand? So
he again described that as
the
worst option for them.
That would be
under the previous regime, they destroyed. In fact, they put, because after the school, every government destroys it first. But the last regime even put the nail in the coffin, and yet they are holding press conferences. You understand? Holding press conferences.
How do you blame them for that they put the nail in the wall? How do you do it?
So this syndication, we all knew that the syndication wasn't good though. Yet, there was always a clamor by finance houses to partake in the cocoa syndication. Why? Because not only were we producing good cocoa, we're producing premium cocoa. You see, we should not, so we have cocoa and we have cocoa. Ghana here, we're producing premium cocoa. So Ghana's cocoa was premium. You understand?
Has it stopped being premium?
With all this Galamsey nonsense, that they fail to... You understand? With all this Galamsey nonsense, that under their watch, they exacerbated. You understand? With a fundamental failure in terms of how was this Machiavellian. I always say in Ghana we do Machiavellian politics, but Nanado's regime took it to a different level. They took it to a different level. You understand? Under their watch, suddenly nobody wanted to do syndication. Why? Because when the international finance are saying that we don't want to syndicate, they are telling us we have lost confidence. You ask the question that with the state of the economy, will even Ghanaians buy bonds? Because bonds is also debt.
You will be interested to buy bonds.
About your accent. So that you yourself, looking per your opinion, looking at how things are going.
No.
You do, no.
I'm saying that you will be interested to buy the bonds.
But the fact
when they floated, I will be interested to buy some.
but you have to whether or not. But the fact that you are even asking and the context in which the discussion was going, you were in a way indirectly suggesting that the state of the cocoa industry economy here is so bad that will people be interested in investing, in buying bonds in that sector? And it is very surprising to think that just about 3 or 4 years ago, people were clamoring. People wanted, everybody wanted to partake in that sector through the syndicated loan. And so what has happened? And so for me, you see, let's get this clear, let's be straight. As a country, where we are going, for me, the future looks very scary for me. It looks very, very scary for me. If there's a time for us as a people, because we are the sovereign, for us to sit down and have a deep think about the kind of politics we do here. I'm saying the kind of politics we do here is not one that sees in the eyes of Aristotle. Aristotle said that politics is the master science. It's the master science that uses all the other sciences to create a strong state and to create a situation where the well-being of the individuals. And in his book Politics, he said that the ultimate aim of politics is to create virtuous men. Virtuous men, we all don't have to. I would have gone into the philosophy of who a virtuous man is. And strangely, in this country, we've moved from a position where cocoa was one of the major sources of creating virtuous men in all its forms and shapes. Rich men, wealthy men. We've managed to use politics to reduce cocoa farmers to a state where they are the poor people in society, to extend that the average age of a cocoa farmer now is 64 years. And you ask rightly, so then what is the future of that sector? And we know that Ghana essentially is a cocoa economy. Ghana is a cocoa economy. So that if cocoa farmers do not have a future, then the Ghanaian economy does not have a future. And I'm saying the problem is not, you see, we all just scratch the surface all the time. I'm saying the deep problem, the reason why the cocoa sector has been destroyed, the reason why we reduced cocoa, which was the source, the backbone of the virtuous men that this country in some time past was creating, has reduced these virtuous men to a time when they are the poor in society. You understand? Then we need to look at the source of the problem. I'm saying the source of the problem is the kind of politics we do here. And we, the people of Ghana, have the power, I believe. So we have the power to change how politics is done. We need to force people who claim they want to do politics from doing politics that is very parochial. You understand? To people who now will do politics for why you ought to do politics, which is to create virtuous men. And until we solve that problem, we'll be coming here every morning, we'll be talking, we'll be speaking, but nothing will happen. Nothing will happen because fundamentally there's no commitment by the people who do politics to create virtuous men.
Okay. Sure. Prof, Nana wants to come in, but I'll let you come in and I'll come to Nana. Yes, Prof.
The farmers are equally listening to this conversation.
Yes.
And they are going through presentations, various from the minority, from the majority, from the minister, the sector minister. And I'm sure the next time they get the opportunity and they have politicians who come to their areas and use cocoa as a campaign tool, they will think twice. Now they will think twice. Some months ago, remember, on the viral, I saw the picture, the video of the same minister then, and now a few minutes later, now you watch it, you see a few minutes later. Then I saw the press conference, the posture, entirely different from when he was the platform. The same other administrations. And I said the last time, we should not use a product we don't control prices to do our politics. So when you have the realities, you'll be hot. Because it's different. Can we interrogate the measures they are proposing? That's another thing we have to concern ourselves about. Some of them, I see them more of operational issues. One area, infrastructure and governance, under that reform, the minister said they are going to have forensic audit and criminal investigations. The Attorney General will investigate COCOBOD operations over the past 8 years. Why the past 8 years? That's a question you have to ask. If you want to investigate, why the past 8 years? You can do a a trend over years and investigate. And these are more of operational matters. The one in charge can easily do this. And my brother last week said, those who perpetrate those crimes should be brought to book. Why have you left those people? And I take the minister and come and tell, go after those people. And I tell us 8 years. And also when my friend said, you don't need to have a timeline in measures that you propose. Then how do you assess yourself? And that is a problem we have when we take an emergency decisions. When you have all the time. Even back in opposition, there were a lot of comments you made suggesting that, yes, you have to reset the system. You had solutions. So when you mounted, when you had the power, you should look at all this and don't allow farmers to go through what we are going through now. So I think timeline is very important, because when you put such information out there like this, people begin to question. But then my last issue I have is on the financial restructuring, on this financing new model. They are going to do away with the old model. And the new model is that with domestic cocoa bonds to raise money locally.
To buy cocoa.
For them to buy cocoa. And I told you, Kojo, we have structural inefficiencies in the system. The COCOBOD. So who will be interested to have a capital outlay or to invest or use as an investment vehicle? So if you are going to wait for you now to go after people who have chopped money for 8 years to pay farmers, you are going to wait to float the bonds, to raise money, where you have not tackled the structural inefficiency. And you say, what could the government have done differently? That was the question you asked. For me, we must improve the financial transparencies in the cocoa sector before people will be interested to get it.
Okay. Anna, let me come to you. You are in the sector. I mean, you've listened to Apia Danko, you've listened to Prof. What is that one knob that government can turn to change the fortunes of cocoa?
Okay, there has been a discussion ongoing in the background about creating a commodity, a cocoa commodities exchange.
Okay.
Amongst the 4 major producers in West Africa, so this is not just a Ghana thing. Nigeria, Cameroon, Ghana, Ivory Coast. It's been proposed by the ICCO, that's the International
Cocoa.
Yes. I am aware that the stalling has come from Ghana COCOBOD. And without, like I said, COCOBOD has its huge pluses. Some of the players in the cocoa marketing company side, the CMC side, some of the financial analysts, some of the players, they are top notch. So, but we all need to come together. So that's something that I think that should happen, because that would then, both immediately and with time, transfer the real actual pricing of cocoa to where the cocoa is grown, not speculation in New York. And so that's something that I know is being discussed.
Ghana and Ivory Coast tried it.
No, Ghana and Ivory Coast didn't try a commodities exchange. Ghana and Ivory Coast have come together to forestall certain things.
To influence the pricing.
Yeah. But sorry, the French are always playing tricks with the Ivorians. So okay. that's another, yeah. But this is a commodities exchange, which will then allow you to trade directly to, so farmers will sell directly to the exchange. Look,
but won't the same happening as the French are always trying to do deals?
Not
because now we have Cameroon is also a French colony.
Yeah, that's to a certain extent, but then there's Nigeria. But in the way that the exchange can be set up with clear rules, whatever, okay. So that would minimize. So that would, the current COCOBOD structure, so it has outlived its usefulness. Okay. I mean, if I were to be blunt, the key areas, Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana, research to produce, again, all these products that you see here, are lying on the shelves of Craig. They're just not being industrialized or commercialized. Okay, so Craig, which provide an industrial base for products extra. Then quality control, absolutely important, because Ghana's cocoa, like my colleague there was saying, is premium. And not only just premium, but in the way that, we've done our things over the years, we've built a certain serious trust. And again, going back historically, the true quality of a good chocolate is based on a Cadbury's bar. What did Cadbury do? Up until a certain point in time, every single bean of cocoa came from the Gold Coast. Every single bean of a Cadbury's bar came from the Gold Coast, nowhere else. And the standard for measuring a good quality chocolate was a Cadbury's bar. So that's already telling you, and that's what happens globally, that companies will buy 20 bags from Ecuador, 10 bags from Cameroon, 2 bags from Ghana for flavor. So we ourselves are not even aware of our power and our impact in the industry. And we appoint politicians, I'm speaking purely as a business person, as a cocoa person. No NDC, no MPP, no. We do not understand the industry. We don't. We pretend to. We go and travel and whatever and get per diem, but we do not understand the industry. Nana, so that's another aspect.
What was giving our cocoa that flavor in those days?
No, it is still there. It's still there.
It is still there. But not as it used to be.
No, it is still there.
Nothing has changed.
Ghana is one of the only countries that still does sun drying.
Of our cocoa.
Exactly. Now you don't even sun drying. So we take it through a certain natural sun drying. Have we even patented or added? There are so many things, but we've just made this whole thing about politics. And without even understanding the details of the industry. And then people sit in COCOBOD PR, you send them an email, and they take 40 days, or they don't even respond. What kind of inefficiency and incompetence is that? Why? People, you travel, you go outside, and the complaints you hear about the stumbling block that COCOBOD produces or provides to the growth and interrelationship of people who come looking for simple information in this our Ghana. We are blocking our own selves. And as at now, there is still an opportunity. There's still a great, because of historically, some of the things we've done and our real value and position in the industry, which we ourselves do not even know. We do not even know. So please, let us operate this industry independent of all these jealousies and all these whatever, as a business. And that opportunity still exists. There are very, very qualified cocoa people in this country and in whatever, who are Ghanaians. We can create, to say that we get 3 billion out of this industry, we can easily do 25 billion. Yeah. I can tell you for a fact, and I'll say it here again, what I get out of my one cocoa bag, I can make 20 times a month. I can tell you for free. And I do not see why we as Ghanaians cannot come together, partner with the business, whatever, with farmers, whatever, and create real wealth, value, trajectory, industry, jobs opportunity, etc. for ourselves. There are two things that globally Ghana is known for, or three: gold, football, cocoa. These three things. Even if we focus and we did those three things well, we don't have a problem. But what is this thing about this albatross suppressing and frustrating and full of political leeches or whatever, and then they change every 4 years? Yeah. Why? The people, our counterparties that we're dealing with as business people, they are sharp, young minds. When you go and negotiate with people in Cargill and Lint and whatever, you are dealing with business people who have taken a position, whatever, over 10, 15 years. They know what they're talking about. Then you politician, you whatever, you come, your 4-year cycle, you want to come and chop and then you want to negotiate. How? You've lost the plot. So please, I think that beyond finding money to pay the farmers and essential, very, and then two, whether they absorb the debt, whether they create an ESLA-like whatever, or whether they print money, that one is. But they should pay, but, and fine, you reduce whatever, but there are ways in which we can restructure what we do independent of politics and let the industry grow. I'm not also saying let's just deregulate for deregulating's sake. Yes. After all, we've weakened our situation to the extent that any foreigner can then come in with a little bit of money and then come and nyafu or spoil the game anyway. So we've weakened our position to that extent. So we should have a way in which we still protect the industry for Ghanaians and importantly, so whether we then do a local content minimum, whatever, we can do those things. But we should liberate ourselves from this political machination in the cocoa sector.
Do you agree to the proposal that farmers would have to go back to the practice where farmers were able to go out there, negotiate and sell their own beans?
That could be one aspect, and that could actually come through even the commodities exchange, because I mean, if then you are selling directly to an exchange, you don't have, and then the exchange will almost become the trading floor. So in that respect, if somebody is looking for beans from or a certain time from London, they come to the exchange, you, the farmer, go, whether as a cooperative, whatever, you go and trade. Government takes a percentage through a tax. I mean, it's been done successfully elsewhere. I mean, these are ways in which we can liberate, but this thing where you collect the thing and then you 70%, whatever, and then you take the 30% and you use it for your operations, and then you dip into the pocket, and then you are now doing roads, and you are now running cocoa clinic, and you are now on the back of the poor farmer. I mean, all this debt that has been accumulated, it's the farmer they expect to pay. Who else? The farmer will have all the 32 or 60 something billion debts that they're expecting that they will take cocoa and cream some of to pay those debts. Where else are they going to get the money from? So
is it hard to produce these things? You have done it. Is it hard to do it?
It depends on what you choose to make. Making stuff out of cocoa is easy because the bulk of the the bulk of the ingredient is the cocoa bean or the cocoa itself. So when they all this thing about moving to a dark chocolate, no, because all they realize is that right now we're adding plenty sugar and plenty milk. No, so we have to move towards the more natural thing. What do we do with this thing? This is 100%. Yeah? Because it's just the nibs.
100%
yes,
cocoa.
100% cocoa. It's just the nibs that were broken down and using sugar as a binder. So this is the most healthy component. There's no, and for that, there's no process, there's no machine that is going to crash and then you press butter out of. So we can give you 100%. And again, just looking at again, the health aspect. You know, there's something emerging called cococeuticals, like pharmaceuticals. So, because, again, over time, or a long time ago, cocoa, the name Theobroma cacao means food for the gods. Okay. And it was a health product. You know, cocoa can reduce your blood pressure, cocoa can reduce your weight, cocoa can reduce your cholesterol, it's high in magnesium, it's high in zinc. I'm a psychiatrist, I can tell you that it's got certain mood elements, you elevate blood pressure, whatever. So now, they're looking at the natural product and creating certain tablets, pills, whatever. It's an emerging industry. Why are we not at the forefront?
Yeah.
You know, I'm saying, when you do R&D, when you invest, when you think, when you read, rather than just going to give your beans away cheap at the landing terminal price, and then somebody will give you forward sales, somebody will give you 2.5 billion, and then turn your thing around and make 200 billion. Then we are sitting here and we are arguing. Why?
So all these things, how many can you get out of a ton, for example? Okay, let's do 64 kg because you say you can get 20%, 20 times that.
Yeah, are you talking about value or are you talking about the volume of
This will give you value, not so.
Yes, it will depend very much. Okay, let's say we can get about 50 kilograms of cocoa nibs from a 64 kilogram bag. The rest is husk, which is cocoa husk tea.
This is cocoa husk tea?
Yeah, cocoa husk tea. So out of the 64 bag, we've done 50 kilograms nibs. Then husk tea.
The nibs is what?
The nibs are the bean that is cocoa nibs, cocoa nibbles. So you've broken them down.
Okay.
Yeah, that's again part of the process that is getting roast, whatever. Then so this in itself is the healthiest part of the cocoa. You get me? So when you eat the nibs naturally, or when and this is actually the foundation for chocolate anyway, or many others, because this contains. This is the bean broken down, and it contains 55% cocoa butter. So again, I keep on saying, we ourselves, we don't even understand the details of what we're doing. Because historically, the thing was brought here for us to produce. We to put it in a jute sack for the thing to go. You see, when you make the comparison, for example, between cocoa and the palm tree, which is indigenous to our part. You know, what do we use the palm tree for? Palm oil. We build palm kernel oil. We use it for brooms, kete that we lie on. We even had a political party that used the abe.
Yeah, PNC, right?
Which,
I know PNC.
No, what do you call it? PNP.
PNP was abe.
PNP abe.
Yeah.
PNP.
We were young, so that's
We've even had a political party that has won power with a palm tree. All our cocoa noise. Yeah. What do we use cocoa for? What do we know? Meanwhile, when you go to South and Central America, they will tell you the things they use the thing for.
So you are in it. Educate us what we can produce out of cocoa.
You know, you can even use the cocoa tree for building, for timber. You can use it.
Hey.
Yes. The thing, a tree that grows for 80 years, it's hard. Whatever. We just don't have the lumber that cuts the thing up. Why? We can use the leaves to make roofs. Why? I'm just saying.
The leaves of roof.
Yes, for roofing, touch the same. We can use it. Yes. And all and again, proper cocoa grows in a forest environment. Okay. Cocoa has never been a monocrop. Okay, so if you we recreate our forest. All these are wonderful things that are found in the forest. You can find them. You know, so when we understand the true value of what we have, then we will stop these games that we are playing. Just because when you collect somewhere, and it's not even, you see, we ourselves don't even use or consume the thing. That's also the other painful thing. It's something that it was brought here for us to grow and for someone else to use. But even if we then were consuming the thing and using it ourselves, then we will, you get me?
Consuming the cocoa.
Yes, consuming, because the first primary thing when you have a resource is that you should be able to create value and industry out of it for yourselves. When you're able to utilize that, the price goes even higher. Because then it becomes in less supply for the global demand of those who are looking for it anyway.
And that could also shoot the price, right?
Yes.
Because if there is less on the market and more money chasing it, it will shoot the price of the producer.
Exactly. So we've got to have a whole rethink about what cocoa really is in terms of how we re-strategize and position ourselves. And we might actually come back and say, no, okay, we need to cap at producing 500,000 metric tons and then focus on what we do with that, rather than this wholesale thing when then people are sitting somewhere and don't really understand what...
You have what you call the cocoa candle as well.
Yes, sir.
And it smells like chocolate.
This is an essence. This is actually in partnership with Melon's candle. Again, important to establish that for cocoa, once you actually start doing the value addition, you can't do all of it. You've got to collaborate with, and that is the excitement of job creation, because there's so much to do. There is skin and cosmetics, there's food and beverages, there's lights. You can actually even use the pod as a form of art.
Yeah.
Because the pod, when you preserve it, well, it's wood. It becomes like it's wood. So then there's the whole, again, I was fortunate enough to have gone for my training in South Africa. And I studied in a place called Stellenbosch, which is the wine.
Stellenbosch, yes,
okay.
yes,
Okay. So when you take the grape industry, and then you look at, then wine is made out of grapes. Okay. So when you go to the Cape in South Africa and you go to a wine farm, you have grapes, you have raisins, you have currants, you have jam, you have jelly. Out of the wine, you have red wine, you have white wine. Out of the different white wine, red wines, you have Pinotage, you have Cabernet Sauvignon, you have the white wines, you have Chenin Blanc, you have, what do they call it? So, and then, depending on the size of the estate, you have accommodation, hotel, guest house, you have a restaurant. You have, out of one product, grapes. You see what they've created?
Yeah.
So why can we not do something similar with our cocoa industry? All we do is put it in a jute sack, it's gone. Why? Why? And then some people are sitting in some office stealing, whether at COCOBOD or doing roads. Why? Why? We can do so much more. So much more. And it doesn't have to be even competitive. It has to be thinking this thing is there and there. There are beautiful farms in Western North. There are whatever. We've got to do something different.
Do you believe what government says it wants to do? Do you believe it's something that will...
that, like my brother over said, it's saying is one thing. The commitment of doing is another. Again, myself, when I started, the whole thing didn't make sense for me when I came back and I was, okay, all this cocoa, you can do X. So I called lawyer Isan Ankuma. Yeah. He was, soon after he had written his book, he came out with the book and he says brains are not whatever. And then there was a chapter in his book about COCOBOD.
Brains build a nation.
There was a chapter in his book about COCOBOD. And so I called Lawyer Ace and I asked him, this thing, this statutory monopoly thing, it doesn't make sense. So he said, my brother, you don't waste your time. You do whatever you need to do quietly and build whatever. Then when the time comes, you have something to show. Not going to talk and then, no. He says, no, you quietly focus on doing what you need to do. And again, looking even at our COCOBOD system or whatever we have right now, when you speak to the Europeans, but this whole thing is completely anti-competitive. Because it's like having the Food and Drugs Authority, which now has a pharmaceutical company, which is now producing medication, which is now deciding what the price is. That's what COCOBOD is. It is completely anti-competitive.
Yeah.
It is almost, it is backward. Yeah. You know, price fixer, price regulator, price doer, it is completely backward. So it's in the way that it is said. Like I said, I use the example of the Food and Drugs Board.
Yeah.
How can the FDA or Food and Drugs be the same ones that are buying the medication and now have a factory that is doing the medication?
So like the DMPC was.
Yes. And it's creating is now and then is supplying or controlling the price of the farmer, how much pharmacy. That's what COCOBOD is. That's what COCOBOD is. But how does that allow anything to grow?
Interesting. but wouldn't the commodity exchange you were talking about be same?
No. The commodity, that would be primarily a commodity. Okay. So it would be a trading floor.
And COCOBOD can regulate it still.
Well, COCOBOD you can create whatever to look at the oversight of it, whatever. You know, that's what, but it will be a free trading floor. And again, government can then, as part of the alternative revenue, whatever, create a tax. So they are taxed, and they can also then create fees where to be able to register an exchange, you have to pay a certain amount. And again, because of the quality and premium of our cocoa, we have no problem. People will flock.
As you listen to the farmer, does it click to you where government should start this whole rebuilding in quote from?
I haven't listened to him very clearly. There is something I've deduced from his communication, I mean, where he's trying to go vis-a-vis the farmer standing at one side, the COCOBOD standing at another side. But this is one thing I would like to say. The COCOBOD, what was the rationale of setting up COCOBOD? He, as the farmer, cannot play out the role of COCOBOD completely in the cocoa production sector. COCOBOD is very important.
Would I have a permission to respond to?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Let him come. We are contributing.
COCOBOD was the successor to the CMB. It was created in 1984. PNDC law, 1981. When you read those objectives and functions of the board, and I know them off by heart, okay, we are focused on production of cocoa beans. And it was actually covered share and coffee. But for those ones, they have escaped because cocoa is the cash cow. In that legislation, it also says that you should encourage the development of the local industry. You know, the objective of COCOBOD at the time when it was created, that it will grow into a multinational like Petronas of Malaysia, whatever. So COCOBOD could go and buy shares in Hershey's, or COCOBOD could set up a plant in the US. And so for whatever I'm doing, COCOBOD can buy shares in your company, and then sell shares when the thing has matured. That was the objective. We have chosen to focus on the growing of beans and selling of beans. That's a choice we have made. And the multinationals, if you'll allow me to be South African, the white boys have chosen to be quietly watching us as we give them our raw material for cheap. So the objective, just to answer your question, the objective of the creation of COCOBOD in 1984 was, one, in response to creating a potential global player that would take the raw material that was our real strength and grow so that it represented farmers. If you have a stake in whatever that came to this country, farmers could either own, or COCOBOD would own a certain share, pay farmers better. You know, that was the objective. In the way that the Saudis use their oil and create and whatever. That was the objective of the creation of COCOBOD. Not this thing where it has become an albatross. That is only, and then borrowing, and now it's in debt. And then the farmers are the same ones that have to pay the debts. No.
Yeah, he's answered you.
I've listened to him. Mm-hmm. Where I try to come in was I don't see the need for cocoa farmer seeing himself completely different from COCOBOD. Of course, as he says, COCOBOD became a global player, trying to get some raw materials from who? From the cocoa farmer. Is that not it?
Yes.
Drawing out policies that will benefit the cocoa farmer. Mm-hmm. And not only the cocoa farmer, even the descendants of cocoa, CMB scholarships benefited who?
But he says that COCOBOD came out of came before, after CMB. That's what he said. Yes.
Yeah, this is where I'm going. Mm-hmm. I'm agreeing to his decision. Mm-hmm. What I'm trying to say is that I don't see the need of cocoa farmer distancing himself completely.
It's not distancing.
From COCOBOD.
It's just great competition.
And
so that you, as a farmer, can
let me just throw something in here. You know, recently we heard something about, they said they were going to do cocoa plantations.
Yes.
Irrigation and whatever. And they were going, and who are going to do those plantations? I can tell you for free and as a fact that Barry Calibu have plantations in Indonesia. They have plantations in Brazil. So basically what COCOBOD was then, and they were discussing, they were basically saying that we're now going to outsource, find land and outsource to. So then the COCOBOD doesn't become a competitor to the farmer. Because that didn't include small-scale farmers. No. They were talking to Barry, Calibu and Co. to establish plantation farming. You know, so when you say at this point in time, and the farmer has always been or should be the main stakeholder in to COCOBOD, but in the way that both the global system and has evolved, right? COCOBOD in its current format has become an albatross and a complete waste. That's what I'm saying, and if anything, we'll say they are sitting on the farmer's happiness. That's what's happening. There are certain components of COCOBOD that are, and currently, that are essential. But with technology, with AI, and with improved whatever, we don't need 10 or 12,000 people employed in an organization to provide those functions. No, they can be done smartly and simply. And also, the other thing I wanted to point out is that, look, when it comes to young minds and skills, they are lodged in COCOBOD in the Health and Extension Department. So how can't we make those a replacement for the farmers? And then they actually then earn the right price and the money and provide whatever consulting services for a fee. But why do they have to be? They are not even on government payroll. They are on farmers' payroll because it is the margin of the whatever that goes to the global that is used for the operations, salaries, and whatever of COCOBOD. So if anything, COCOBOD staff and whoever are employees of we the farmers. Mm-hmm. That's what they are.
Yeah.
And all these lies about free for what? Every single penny, or whether it is a machine, whether it is spray, whether it is when, let us get those lies out very clearly. There is nothing free in our cocoa sector. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Everything is paid for by the farmer. Every single thing. And let's stop these lies.
Meanwhile, when there's a problem like there is now, those who work, they've not mentioned reduction in salary.
No, they're not mentioned it.
They have not mentioned reduction in salary.
Yeah.
You see, we need to be serious.
Yeah.
What is beyond that, what I'm also trying to see has been another problem for the cocoa sector is land degradation.
Land degradation.
Yes. Aside the politician being aside, which collectively, the chiefs, the youth groups, whoever are involved in that kind of land degradation, are contributing to the problem of cocoa industry.
So one of the biggest causes of land degradation, among so many other issues, is Galamsey.
Yes.
That's the biggest.
Galamsey?
I'm coming. Yeah. Now, when it comes to Galamsey, per our constitution, we the people of Ghana created in the president a trust. So the president, you are a trustee in terms of our natural resources.
Yeah.
Now, when you're a trustee, it means that you ought to protect the property. You ought to take decisions which are in the best interest. So when you sit down, after we've given you those powers, you sit down for Galamsey to happen. Yeah, I understand. When we've given you power to protect, then you are ultimately supposed to be blamed for the degradation. Also, when in how you've done your politics, you've not created correct people by way of our education system, by way of how well we enforce the law. Because I can't enforce the law. Who enforces see, fundamental failure in law enforcement. Honorable, we the politicians, I'm adding myself, even though I've never come to power, but all of us, we are the major problem. I say I'm a politician. I say I'm a politician, even though I've never come to power. Even though I've never come to power, but I'm a politician. So we the politicians, even though I've never had power, I'm adding myself. We the politicians, we are the biggest cause. And easy, don't let, we always take the easy path. And the chiefs and land degradation. No. The chiefs and land degradation, whoever it is, are doing the land degradation because we're not enforcing the law. Use the power we've given you. Grant proper leadership.
But let me ask this question to Nana. We were told that there's a warning that this reduction may cause some farmers to sell their lands to Galamsey just because this has coming. How do we prevent that?
That is a very tough question. And again, in a scenario where a farmer is 70 years old and has really been reduced to almost nothing, and they come and they make an offer to the farmer. And incidentally, unfortunately, a lot of the cocoa areas are also the areas where the gold is found. And so they make an offer to the farmer. It's very difficult. And the farmer is not getting any of their younger or children or whatever interested in coming back to the land. It's very difficult to tell the person not to sell. So these are practical realities. Look, like I said, I've been relatively fortunate in understanding certain things. So it's taken a while to get to where we are in terms of what we do and so me personally, I can, for example, pay the farmers a bit more, and we earn some additional revenue from the tourism when it comes in. And so we can do things a bit differently. The other thing I also wanted to say is that, again, historically, our cocoa has landowners. Okay, that's very different from the tenant farmers who are actually the front runners. But landowners have basically abandoned because the thing is not profitable. It's no longer attractive. As soon as we make the thing attractive and functional and doing, the landowners will appear. After all, Ghana, one of our biggest cash cows is land litigation. Yeah. And so once we sort out the basics in terms of the price, whatever, or rice farmers, a productive value chain, it will come back naturally because the system is already in place.
This one says, good morning. Ghanaians are saddened to hear the plight of our suffering cocoa farmers. The ruling government thought they were exposing the MPP government to Ghanaians while in opposition, but the reality has really exposed them. There's nothing, okay, says, I believe strongly that the overhauling of the cocoa sector will only add hardships to the ordinary farmer, whereas the CEO is receiving more than $1 billion in a month, really. How much is the CEO of COCOBOD paid?
Well, I don't know, but there's something going around. They claim he makes like 86,000. Like at 90,000 in terms of allowances alone.
Hey!
So if you combine the two, and that's a claim, I don't know.
Okay.
But it's all over social media.
Yeah, okay. Francis Tando from Jomoro sent this one in. This one says, cocoa farmers have been scammed by the government. In the NDC 2024 manifesto, they outlined about 21 promises to cocoa farmers, but no show. There is nothing new the finance minister will say today. He's going to continue. Okay, let me see. He says, I always look at Mr. Apia Dankwa in an amazement anytime he mentions the previous government and another his name. We have a cocoa sector problem at hand, and you can't propose any alternative, but rather talking about previous administration that paid cocoa farmers very well and happily. He should give us a break. Ghanaians are watching closely. Master planner in Kentampo, he only said that the previous government is also part of the reason. Kojo, the NDC government must be very careful with the way the cocoa pricing system is being handled. What has just happened will leave farmers impoverished. Consequently, many of them will sell their farmlands to Galamsey operatives. What happened to all the lofty promises they made to the cocoa farmers when they were in opposition? Amazing convictions. Mancha Bruce, the second in Takoradi. Blueprint says, Dr. Atuforsen said what? That the AG should start looking into the fraudulent activities of former Akufo-Addo's appointees. Wow. Was it not the same Attorney General who discontinued the unscrupulous activities of Dr. Oponi and Seidu Agongo at COCOBOD? I'm suggesting to the current Attorney General to start a criminal investigation from 2012 to date and not 2018. And by so doing, Ghanaians would know that he who brings equity must always come with clean hands. Blueprint brought this one in. But there's this one here. It says, okay, this one. It says, the man sitting next to you is very articulate and intelligent. Okay. With some sweet mannerisms there. That's to you there. Thank you for bringing in those comments here. We need to move on and talk about the people who we are told are likely to be suffering. Okay, so according to the IEA, some 71% of Ghanaians are worried about escalating prices. And we want to find that in the midst of this 3.8% inflation recorded by the Ghana Statistical Service, where there's still some 71 people we understand by research are worried about escalating prices. Maybe I should still go to the finance person here because we want to understand this. 3.8 inflation, but 71% Ghanaians also fear escalating prices. How do we situate the two?
That was a report from IEA.
IEA, yes.
And President Mahama's calls 68% approval ratings. But the reality is...
I'm giving you 2 minutes on this.
Yeah, disagree.
To move.
You realize unemployment rate is, I think, per the support, per the figure they put out there, I think it's 48%. And the prices of goods, I think it's 91%, meaning 9 out of every 10 Ghanaian are having issues with the price of items. I was here the last time and I mentioned the inflation figures that we have seen. A drastic reduction from last year, beginning of this year, 23, 3.8%. When it got to 5 points, we started interrogating what could be the reason for such a drastic reduction in the numbers. Of course, when price of goods and services are low, I mean, we'll be fine. We questioned the computations. I was here, giving you the inaccuracies in the numbers. But then let's assume the prices are the same. I mean, the figures are correct. You are recording a reduction in inflation. So we think that price of items naturally should go down. That's not how we interpret it sometimes. The reason is that you're only recording a slower pace, the growth. The headline inflation was 3.8 per the figure. It doesn't necessarily mean that price of goods and services
have gone down.
Have gone down. The pace is rather has reduced. But then, where we have issues are the three regions, the OT, Savannah, and the Upper North. They recorded a negative. So we said, let's send our reporters there to check, to see the price of commodities over there.
So negative means prices have gone down.
Have gone down. That's the meaning. There's a reverse. That's the deflation. But that's not the picture IEA is creating. That we say have about 9 out of 10 Ghanaians who have issues with the price of goods and services in the system. Unemployment rate also is going up. So that relationship must be clear unless other people use it as a message years ago. But now, this relationship is what we have now. Yes, we have issues with food, commodities, in terms of food and non-food items are going. It's just the pace that we are talking about. So we should not be celebrating that the headline inflation is giving us 3.8. So you go to the market, you should see. People are using it as a campaign too. Oh, well, inflation has gone down because we think that price of goods, that's not the reality. So people are going through hardship. So the goodwill of this, the president scoring 68% of approval ratings, meaning the way the government, the president does his things. But unemployment is a factor. Inflation is also a factor. So what it means is that goodwill cannot erase hardship. That's a simple analysis.
All right. Thank you very much. The way you are looking at him there, okay, let me bring in how do we explain this? 71% of Ghanaians feel that prices are escalating, but inflation is still 3.1%.
Yes. Prices of goods, they hinge it basically on food. Is that not it? And
goods and services.
Goods and services.
That's headline inflation.
Yes. But I saw this thing on, I think, worried about rising food prices. This is how the paper tried to caption it.
Yeah, that's probably the angle.
That was their finding.
That's the angle. So maybe the paper picked it from one.
Figures.
Yes. The statistical figures, together with the rise in food prices, I question myself about this survey where actually they did it. Sometimes this is influenced by where I am coming from. You go to my constituency, Krachi East now. The price for a bag of maize has been reduced very drastically. And when we were here last time, we spoke about the glut in the maize, rice, and all that.
And the farmers are crying. Really.
Are crying. And with government now even forced to come out with measures to buy that surplus from the producers or the farmers. You talk about dry cassava. The price has been reduced somewhere from 350 Ghana cedis to about 100 Ghana cedis, where government is trying to come in to buy from the farmer to make their living better by raising the price to about 200 Ghana cedis, 150 and 200 Ghana cedis thereabout. And basically, these are staple foods of Ghanaians. We eat rice, we eat maize, we eat cassava, we eat yam. And prices of all these have been reduced. Fuel prices, we cannot dispute the fact that fuel prices have been reduced.
Yeah.
We cannot dispute the fact that exchange rates have been reduced and it's better now. So if this report comes to complain about rises in food prices, then some of us will have a worry or will have the cause to question about how they came about the survey. Because as I speak with you, practically, go out there, you will find out that prices of foodstuffs have been reduced. And comparatively, all other areas that government should have the influence to intervene for the citizenry have also been reduced to the favor of the ordinary Ghanaian.
Okay.
So I will not sometimes trying to get the better understanding of where these rises are coming from.
Thank you very much. Just 2 minutes. Our time is up. So if you can do 1 minute from here, I'll even be happy.
Yeah, 1 minute. But the survey essentially is saying that factually that the price of foodstuffs has increased. That's the first.
Basically, yeah.
And then secondly, that what was the percentage?
71%.
71%
are not happy. Now, is the fact that food price has increased, how different is their view from the view of let's say the Ghana Statistical Service? Because that's a factual issue. As when you say the price of that's a factual issue. And for me, between IEA and Ghana Statistical Service, if they are saying something different, I'm more aligned to believe what Ghana Statistical Service is saying as against what IEA is saying.
Okay.
And if I had time, they'll go into as in what will be the interest in what IEA used a certain word, churning. That they've churned out certain. So you see, we need to help this country by questioning also sometimes some of the CSOs and some of these bodies what their interest really is.
Anyway, let me end with you, Nana. 71% say they fear escalating prices amidst the 3.8% inflation rate that we do know. Briefly, I mean, you're also a consumer.
Yes, I would actually indirectly relate this to cocoa again. Yeah. That if you lose, because a lot of our staple foods actually come from the cocoa areas, cocoa growing areas, a lot of our staples. So if you're actually going to lose the motivation of the farmers and people are going to sell their lands and those kind of things, you're actually going to have a reduction in the
food products.
Yes, in food products and.
Or should the prices?
Yes. So that would be my
So it means that we should be what is happening in the cocoa sector could also impact on availability of food.
Yes, it does.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you very much. So that's Nana Aduana, the second. He is the spokesperson to the Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association. Okay, all right. Now, Kofi Jabab is the MP for Krachi East, and Prof Isaac Boadi is Dean Accounting and Finance Faculty of UPSA, and then Andrew Appiah Dankwa is Director of Legal of the United Party. From wherever you joined us, thank you very much. Those of you who sent in tests, we're grateful as well.